ESPN 1300 AM.
Welcome back to the Runaround here on ESPN 1300 AM. Show, as always, is brought to you by Hollabird Sports. Check them out online, hollibirdsports.com. And check us out online, runningmaryland.com, for all the latest results, photos, videos, everything you need. Brad, we're talking about the mile today.
And we got a mile race, but it's a little bit of a different mile race. It's called the Burrito Mile. It's held down at Tilden Middle School down in Rockville, Maryland on February 25th at 9 o'clock a.m. They run a mile, but you chomp down a burrito before it. They have a regular burrito race where you eat one burrito, and they have the elite burrito race where you eat a couple burritos, chug them down, run a quick mile, and it's all for charity. It's a really great race. I've been doing it for a couple of years, and it's on Burrito Mile 2012 ! On Facebook.
I'm sure the local hospital is thrilled that they're doing that too.
Oh, I'm just glad I don't have to clean up the track afterwards.
Very cool. Like I said, we are talking about the mile, and we're being joined by Ryan from Baltimore. Ryan, you're on the Runaround.
Hey guys, how you doing tonight?
Okay.
Doing well, and you? We're talking about the mile today. We talked to Bring Back the Mile. We talked to Marty LaCourie. What do you think about all this?
Well, first of all, being a runner from New Jersey, Marty LaCourie has a special place in my heart. And I guess it was a couple of weeks ago that I noticed on Twitter the Bring Back Mile Twitter handle campaign. And, I mean, I've got to say, if you're a running purist, you love the mile, you want to race the mile. Like Greg, I know you are a fantastic miler yourself. So it's really great to see an emphasis being put back on this great event.
It's hard. It's hard not to see the mile out there. When we saw Robbie Crease the other day break 4 minutes in the mile, it really meant something. It's a little bit different when you hear about him breaking the 4-minute 1,600-meter run.
Well, right, Brad. Even if it had been a 1,500 and he ran, say, 3:42 point,
yeah.
What does that time mean in the grand scheme of things? 4 minutes is that beautiful, beautiful barrier. But I wonder if some part of it doesn't have something to do with, on the women's side, they don't have that same barrier, and I guess 4:30 is as close to a 4-minute barrier for them. But 4:20, 4:15, those don't have the same ring. So almost in a standardization of, hey, we're all just going to run 1,500s. I wonder if that played a part.
It also looks like the 1,500 is a completely different strategy of a race. It's more of a sprinter's race. They don't go out and try to hit splits. You always find the splits where they take off on the 1,500. So it's a little bit different the way you approach a 1,500. I mean, and it's hard for me always to add 18 seconds to a 1,500-meter time, too. So.
Exactly right. And nobody, if you tell me a 1,500 time or even a 1,600 time, like you said earlier in the show, Brad, the first thing you do is convert it.
Right, and Ryan, before we move on to other callers, do you have any special experiences with the mile? I know we're talking about a difference of 109 meters or 9 meters, changing the 1,500 to the mile or the 1,600 to the mile. And what's it mean to you? Are you a miler, or does the mile have any special place in your training?
I've got to say, Greg, I am a miler. Last spring, I had a chance to run a couple different miles, and had they been 1,600, I would have had a certain barrier time that I would have broken. I was just outside of that on the full mile, and it leaves me wanting more for this season.
So the mile's making you work. So the mile for you is about working harder and training to that next level, huh?
Absolutely.
Very cool, Ryan. Thanks for joining us. We're now being joined by Sean, a miler from the University of Maryland, College Park. Sean, we just talked to Marty LaCourie and the people from Bring Back the Mile. What does the mile mean to you?
I don't know where to start. The mile has a pretty special place in my heart. You go from gym class in middle school, you're running the mile, to high school. And I think what's really kind of struck me about this whole Bring Back the Mile movement is just how much of a no-brainer it is. For years in high school, I'd tell people, okay, I can run a 4:30 1,600, but, you usually end up rounding up saying I can run a 4:30 mile. So
right.
I think it's almost just the point of truthfulness to just make it a full-out mile, because you're kind of cheating yourself and other people when you tell them, hey, I can run a 4:30 mile when it's really a 4:30 1,600. So, just for the sake of being specific, I guess.
But there's got to be some days there that you're glad you don't have that extra 9 meters to run at the end of a race, huh?
Oh, yeah.
At the high school level, you ran the 1,600 meters, correct?
Yes.
Did you ever find yourself saying, I know when I ran in high school, did you ever find yourself saying, like, why didn't I just run the full mile? It seems so easy. You see a lot of tracks where the mile start line is incorporated into the track. Did you ever think that, why can't they just move the start 9 meters back?
Yeah, I mean, really, once I've heard about this whole thing, it seems like a no-brainer. seriously, I don't understand now that this whole thing is brought up why they do run the 1600, other than the fact that you start and finish in the same place.
Mm-hmm. Do you find you like indoor track a little better? I know you're a miler for the University of Maryland, so you run the mile indoors. Is it frustrating to run that mile indoors and have to go out to outdoors and you start running the 1500? Would you rather run the mile outdoors as well?
If I could have my way, absolutely. 1500 is just kind of confusing. Although, when you look at the international level, that is kind of their mile outside of the U.S. But, hey, I'd be all for the mile outdoors as sort of a U.S. sort of thing.
And Sean is a state champion in the 1,600 meters there from Maryland a couple of years ago, running for Walter Johnson. The indoor and the outdoor mile were completely different races for you. Would you rather go out hard? Would you rather go out slow in a mile?
I've always been one to sort of just keep it even. I didn't really have much of a kick, so just try to run the legs on everyone else.
All right, Sean. Well, thanks for joining us. Appreciate your call. Brad, before we wrap up today, let's kind of recap what we have coming up for Running Maryland. We have some big races coming up.
St. Michael's Running Festival on May 19th. We have the Dancel Y Family YMCA 5K in Howard County on March 25th. And we have a lot more races Running Maryland's managing and timing this year. Go to runningmaryland.com to check them out.
And if you don't check out the races, at the very least, check out what we have for content on the site. Plenty of photos, videos,
and
results.
Some great stories.
Great stories. Check it out. runningmaryland.com. And check out hollybirdsports.com or their Baltimore showroom on Pulaski Highway.
What do we have next week, Greg?
Don't have time. Too exciting. I'll talk to you next week.
For all the latest running news, results, and training tips,